And Robbins says, be honest with yourself about the energy you're bringing. If it's not good, step back, give yourself some space.
I've totally been there. Hanging on to friendships out of habit or obligation, even when they weren't bringing me joy anymore.
And that's where let them comes in. Give yourself permission to let go, even if it's hard.
So letting them go doesn't mean you don't care. It's about seeing that sometimes distance is best for both people.
Exactly. Robbins says letting go doesn't make you a bad person. It actually makes room for new connections that might fit better where you are in life.
That's such a good point. Okay, so say you've let go of those friendships that weren't working. How do you actually make new friends as an adult? That feels like a whole other challenge.
We're not alone. Lots of people find it daunting. But Robbins gives some really practical advice. Put yourself out there. Be open to new connections.
So join clubs, take classes, volunteer, anything that gets you out there, meeting people with shared interest.
Exactly. She gives examples from her own life, like saying hello at the coffee shop, chatting at events, joining a walking group. Small, consistent things, that's what adds up.
I love that. Be intentional about creating those little moments.
Yeah.
But those connections, they take time to become real friendships.
Right, they do.
Yeah.
Robbins acknowledges that. She actually says, give it a year.
A whole year. Okay, I'm committed.
She says that's often how long it takes for those connections to really solidify. And she's speaking from experience here. She talks about moving to a new place, feeling totally lost and lonely at first.
I bet that was tough. How'd she turn things around?
She started small, saying hi to neighbors, talking to people at the coffee shop, going to local events. And over time, those little interactions became meaningful friendships.
It's inspiring to hear it worked for her. It gives me hope that it's possible, even as an adult, to build those connections. Might take a little time and effort.
Exactly. And remember, it's an ongoing process. Friendships will come and go throughout life, and that's okay.
It's about embracing that ebb and flow. Okay, so we've covered friendships, but what about those heavier situations? When someone you love is struggling, maybe with addiction or mental health, something really tough.
That's a great question, and Robbins approaches this with a lot of compassion. It's so painful watching someone we care about go through a hard time.
Right, and your instinct is to fix it, make it better for them.
Absolutely. But she says this, and it's a hard truth. You can't want their healing more than they do.
That's tough to hear, but it makes sense. You can't force change.
Exactly. And she explains how sometimes, even with the best intentions, our attempts to help might actually be holding them back.
Like we're enabling them instead of empowering them.
Exactly. She uses a personal example about her daughter's childhood anxiety. It shows how, when she tried to rescue her daughter from anxious situations, it actually made things worse long term.
Wow, that's powerful. So finding that balance between support and letting them face their own challenges, that's key.
Precisely. And she talks about the idea of rock bottom. It can be a necessary, though tough step in someone's journey.
As a loved one, I imagine that's incredibly hard to watch. But sometimes it's the only way for someone to realize they need to change.
It can be so difficult, but Robbins says it's not about abandoning them or being cold. It's about creating a supportive space while letting them experience the natural consequences.
Okay, that makes sense. Be a source of strength, but let them find their own path.
Exactly. The most important thing, she says, is to believe in their ability to get better. Let them borrow your belief.
Okay, so we're seeing how letting them can apply to some really heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, what about love and relationships? I bet there are some juicy insights there.
Oh, definitely. Robbins dives into the whole dating scene, finding lasting love, all of it.
Okay, tell me everything.
First, she says, be brave enough to be yourself. Let go of that need to chase after people who aren't truly interested.
Easier said than done, right? Especially when you're really into someone.
Yeah.
But I get it, being authentic, not trying to force a connection that's not there.
Right. And here's a key point she makes. People's actions, they tell you exactly how they feel about you.
No more overthinking, no more reading between the lines.
Exactly. Stop interpreting, stop second-guessing, just accept their actions at face value.
I love that. No more mixed signals or games. What if someone is sending those on purpose? Do you just let them?
That's where let me comes in again. You have the power to choose who you let into your life. If someone's always inconsistent, disrespectful, you have every right to walk away.
Setting boundaries, protecting your own heart.
Exactly. She even suggests asking yourself, if my best friend were treated this way, what would I tell them?
That's such a good gut check. If you wouldn't want your friend to put up with it, you shouldn't either.
Precisely. Robbins also shares this really inspiring story about how Matthew Hussey's wife, Audrey, took their relationship to the next level. She focused on her own needs, her own values, and instead of trying to please him or chase after him, she clearly communicated what she wanted in a partner.
So empowering. It's about knowing your worth, not settling for less.
Right. And she also talks about deal breakers in relationships.
The non-negotiables.
Exactly. She even mentions research by the Gottmans that found 69% of relationship problems, they're just not solvable.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. So be honest with yourself, what you're willing to compromise on, and what's a hard no.
Knowing when to walk away, even if it's tough.
Right. And she doesn't leave you hanging when it comes to heartbreak either. Lots of practical advice on coping with a breakup and moving on.
Okay, give me some hope here. What does she say?
No contact with your ex, at least for a while. That's key. Get rid of those triggers, the photos, the gifts, anything that reminds you of them.
Create space for yourself to heal.
Exactly. And fill your calendar with stuff that makes you happy, spending time with friends, hobbies, anything that lifts you up.
Focus on you, rediscovering your joy.
Exactly. Time might not heal all wounds, but what you do with that time, that definitely can.
So take an active role in your own healing. I love that.
Right. And she ends this section with a powerful reminder. You are the love of your life.
That's beautiful. You are worthy of love, regardless of your relationship status.
Exactly. Cultivate that love for yourself, first and foremost.
This deep dive has been amazing. It feels like let them theory can apply to so many parts of life.
It really can. It all comes down to taking back your power. Let go of what you can't control. Focus on what you can.
Right? Choose how you respond to the world, even when it's challenging.
Exactly. And with that mindset, you can create a life that's more peaceful, more fulfilling, more empowered.
You know, as we're talking about this, I'm realizing letting them isn't just about other people. It's about letting go of our own expectations, our need for control, even our fears.
That's a really insightful point. Robbins talks about that throughout the book, how our own thoughts and beliefs can be our biggest roadblocks.
It's like we get in our own way.
Exactly. So letting them go, it can also mean letting go of those self-limiting beliefs, those negative thoughts that are holding you back.
It's powerful, giving yourself permission to be free.
Hmm.
But how do you actually do that? Those negative thoughts, they can be so stubborn.
That's a great question, and we'll get into that in the final part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Before the break, we were talking about those, pesky negative thoughts that can really get in our way. And I'm ready to hear how we tackle those with the let them theory.
Well, Robbins takes the same approach here. Remember that core principle, figuring out what's actually in your control and what's not.
Right.
You can't always control what thoughts pop up in your head, but you can control how you react to them.
So it's not about forcing those thoughts to disappear, more about changing how we relate to them.
Exactly. She wants you to see those thoughts as, well, that's thoughts.
Okay, yeah.
They're not facts, not
No.
some universal truth, just, passing mental events.
Okay, got it. But how do you stop them from taking over? Those negative thoughts, sometimes they're so loud and persistent.
Rabbi has a few techniques. One is simply acknowledging the thought, but without judgment.
So not pushing it away or arguing with it, just noticing it.
Exactly. And be kind to yourself in this process. Everyone has these thoughts. It's part of being human.
That's good to hear. You're allowed to be imperfect.
Precisely. She also suggests something called reframing the thought.
Reframing.
It's about challenging those negative beliefs and swapping them for something more positive, more empowering.
Okay, so what would that look like in real life? Give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you've got this thought, I'm not good enough.
Ouch. Yeah, we've all been there.
Robbins would say, okay, is that really true? What evidence do you have? And then reframe it. Maybe something like, I'm learning and growing every day. I'm capable of amazing things.
So you're actively shifting from self-doubt to self-belief.
Exactly. And she emphasizes this takes practice, like working a muscle. The more you reframe those thoughts, the easier it gets.
Makes sense. I'm thinking about all the times I've let those thoughts stop me from going after what I wanted, taking risks. It's like those thoughts were in control.
And that's exactly what Robbins doesn't want. You the one in charge, not your negativity.
So letting them go, in this case, it means taking back the power you gave those thoughts.
Precisely. Reclaim that mental space, fill it with something better, more positive.
This is so powerful. It feels like, wow, let them theory. It really can apply to everything. Relationships, friendships, even our own inner battles.
It really can. And it always comes back to that core idea. Focus on what you can control. Let go of what you can't.
And be kind to yourself along the way.
Exactly. That's the key to a more peaceful, more fulfilling, more empowered life.
I love it. And if you're listening and wanting more, Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory, it's out now.
It's a fantastic read, packed with practical advice, relatable stories, those aha moments.
Highly recommend it. Before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with one last thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
We've talked a lot about letting them in relation to other people, right?
Right.
But what if we applied this to ourselves too?
Oh, interesting. What do you mean?
Like, what if we practiced letting go of our own self-judgment? The inner critic, those voices that say we're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough.
That's powerful. Extending that same grace and compassion we give others, but inwards to ourselves.
Exactly. Saying, hey, let me be imperfect. Let me mess up. Let me learn and grow.
Giving yourself permission to be human.
Exactly. And in that space of acceptance, that's where the magic happens. More joy, more creativity, more possibility.
What a great message to end on.
I think so too.
Mm.
So to all of you listening, we challenge you to try it out. Let go of that self-judgment. See what happens when you give yourself permission to be, perfectly imperfect.
And as always, thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.